We have a wonderful guest that has joined us, Dr. Tucker. He will be sharing some of his expertise around mental health and mental health awareness and tips and things that we can be doing to make sure that we stay well. All right. So that's what we have in store for you today. So stay tuned. Well, happy New Year, you all. And thank you again for tuning in to That Pharmacist Show. My name is Dr. LaQuoya Johnson, and joining me today is Dr. Mariko, Dr. Shamita, and Dr. Tiffany. We have a good show prepared for you all today. We're going to talk about mental health and our journeys and how important it is for us to take care of our mental health. Dr. Tiffany, I would love for you to share your personal journey with us because, guys, it was so impactful when I heard Dr. Tiffany share her testimony.
My mom passed away at a very young age. I was 19 when my mother passed away. It was very traumatic. And as a result, I chose to go seek therapy, and it's probably the best thing that I could have did at that age. In addition, it brought my journey closer to God. So people have a tendency to think that there's got to be some division between if you're a religious person, that you going to seek help kind of goes against that religion. I beg to differ. I've had a combination of both in my life, especially at that time and that age of being 19 and getting to know myself as an individual and as an adult. It was very important for me to have that relationship with God and also to seek out somebody to talk to and talk through my thought process. It definitely was an eye opener for me. It encouraged me to not fall into the rabbit hole of being depressed or feeling as if I couldn't overcome the loss of my mom, who I was very close with. And it kind of propelled me into changing my way of thinking and continuing and pursuing my career to where I'm at today. It was vital.
Do you want to talk about how your mother passed and the circumstances surrounding
Sure.
it?
So, it's believed, and I say believed because it's kind of like a family debate for us. She has been presumed to have committed suicide. Although there are some other factors in there that lead my family to believe other than that. But the fact of the matter is deemed suicide. She did deal with depression and anxiety prior to her passing away. And talking about that, suicide hotline is a hotline that's available. I did want to mention, and I was talking about putting a plug in for this, that the FCC has actually made a it's called a 988 number that will launch in July, so that you don't have to and I'm sorry, I forget what the actual number is for the suicide hotline. But that number is supposed to be made easier. It's like the 911 of suicide hotline. You dial 988 and you'll be able to connect with somebody in suicide hotline. And it's something very near and dear to my heart. Usually around the time if you're familiar with social media, I go on Facebook and I actually will do like a little fundraiser to support people that are going through tough times. So we've got Dr. Tucker here. We're very happy and we're very pleased to have him here as a guest today, so that he can give us his expertise and talk us through and allow us to kind of pick his brain and ask him some questions as well. We wanted Mariko to go ahead and give a nice introduction as to who he is and what he represents.
Yeah, so Dr. Tucker is a behavioral health expert with over 20 years of experience with diverse populations. He received his bachelor's of social work at Southeastern Louisiana University, his master's of social work at Louisiana State University, and his doctorate of education at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, studying the role that physical activity can play in mitigating burnout in healthcare professionals. In addition to his clinical leadership and policy practice expertise or experience, He is currently a lecturer in the NC State University School of Social Work. Dr. Tucker is especially passionate about bolstering integrated behavioral health services, addressing systemic social determinants of health, and improving access to quality mental health treatment for the most marginalized groups. And then Dr. Tucker, if you could go ahead and chime in to what Tiffany was saying about her story.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me this morning. Thank you for the exceptional introduction. Dr. Mariko, really appreciate this opportunity. I do want to just kind of take a step back and share that hotline that Dr. Tiff was mentioning earlier. The number is 1-800-273-8255. I wanted to pull that number up so we can share that with everyone who is joining us this morning. I think that's a really important resource for everyone. But I also want to say, Dr. Tiff, thank you so much for being vulnerable, for opening up, for being so strong to share your story with us. That really just represents such a level of resiliency and strength. And again, I don't just say this for the camera, I say it because I mean it. I mean, that is just truly admirable. Thank you for just being a catalyst for such an important conversation this morning. Kind of want to just kick off everything by saying that. Where do I start? You know, one thing that you mentioned earlier was about the role of the intersectionality of religion and therapy as it relates to, you know, Black and Brown communities. I think it's important to kind of explore the history of mental health among people of African descent and talk about how historically mental health services has not been something that was even a part of the conversation for Black and Brown people, you know, up until perhaps 40, 50, maybe 60 years ago. And so we have to really think about the role that religiosity played in the mental health specifically of people of color during, you know, times of slavery, during Jim Crow era, during times of tremendous oppression and discrimination as it related to African Americans in this particular country. And I would even say globally. And so historically, we really haven't had the access or even the understanding or the comfort to even explore traditional therapy, because it really wasn't a therapy that was really kind of created for us, with us in mind. I mean, even most psychologists and psychiatrists were people of European descent. I think one of the first psychologists or psychiatrists of African descent was only in the 60s or 70s. And so when you think about that historically, that really is not a long time ago. And then you think about the breadth and the extensiveness of services for Black and Brown people is still developing. And so I think it is not, I think we cannot really underestimate the impact that religion has played for us. But at the same time, the fact that mental health services really has not been accessible for people of Black and Brown descent.